All right, Jeremy, welcome to the show, my friend. I'm looking forward to getting to know you better and talking about your business and what you're doing for marketing. And you got a really cool channel that we're going to talk about later on. So just kind of tease the listeners to start. So before we get into that, give everyone a little bit about your background. How did you get into real estate investing? And then what does your business look like today?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. So I started in real estate in 2016. I had done about 5.5 years of nonprofit work, traveling all over the world to places I never thought I would go, and absolutely loved it. And it was fantastic. But during that time, my wife and I had a son, and then we adopted two girls, and we ended up having to live in the Congo for 18 months. And when we came back, man, our family dynamic changed, all sorts of things kind of, were happening. And I was like, man, my wife and I were really struggling, to be honest with you. And we're like, man, how are we going to make this work? Bigger family, we need some more money, struggling in our marriage and all these adjusting back to life. So long story short, I was like, man, I need to kind of step away from this and just kind of transition into something else and just really focus on my family and what was best for us at that time. So I had listened to a lot of podcasts. I had done a lot previously in finance and had other businesses, and so I'd always wanted to do something in real estate. So um, I heard Tom Kroll from
Oh,
Wholesaling
great
Inc.
guy, buddy of
Oh
mine.
man,
Awesome.
so I heard Tom on wholesale or on Bigger Pockets podcast,
Oh,
started
that was
ringing
a
the
big one.
bell,
That was like 5 years ago, dude. 6 years ago. That was
dude.
ancient.
That was yeah. So that was back then, and I heard it, and I'm like, oh man, I'm like, this is all I need to hear. So at that point, put 5,000 on a credit card, and got under his wing, and the rest is kind of history. But that was when I got started. And I had no plan B. So it was like burn the ships, man. My wife and I, she was homeschooling at the time, kind of getting, stepping away from work. And so we had a little bit of savings, but not a lot. And then I essentially got started borrowing from my own HELOC to pay bills, to close deals. And it was slim pickings back then. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So
Wow. That's a crazy story, man. It's funny you mentioned Tom Kroll because I remember hearing his podcast with on Bigger Pockets. This was probably 2016, 2017 when I was kind of getting
yep.
started, maybe 2018, probably 17. And the guy had so much energy. And I'm like, man, this guy like really is like very like contagious. Energy is contagious. And then yeah, man, like he's a legend, you know what I mean? And he's like helped so many people. And it's just like, it just shows like when you're a good communicator and you have great energy and you're genuine, like you help a lot of people, like you can really, have some major success. So I'm glad you got started that way. Wholesaling Inc.'s a phenomenal program. Brent Daniels is the owner now. And
Yep.
man, I know him and he's like just so genuine on wanting to help people. They have such a good track record. I got nothing but good things to say about that organization. They're phenomenal. So you get started. Now you got an interesting business because I know you live in Nashville, but your business in South Carolina in the Myrtle Beach area. So like when you started, at least, did you start locally? Like where were you living at the time? Like how did that kind of get going? Like at least to where it is
Yep.
now.
Yeah, so I was in a suburb of Nashville, started locally. Actually found my first deal on Craigslist, literally right by where the Tennessee Titans play.
Oh yeah, that's like
Literally right
downtown
up the
Nashville.
road.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wish. So it's funny because a couple people couldn't help this guy out. He had talked to probably 10 people,
Huh.
and some of them were investors, and other people I don't know, but I kept meeting with this guy, and I'm like, man, this would be a great property to flip. And I'd never flipped the house, so I didn't know what I was doing, of course. And I buy the house,
Closed on
and
it.
oh, I closed on this property,
Okay.
and the guy's like, "Oh man, thanks so much. No one else has been able to get this done. I'm so pumped." And it was a really good connection. And I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a great first flip." Well, come to find out, it was in the historical district,
Oh, trouble.
and
Trouble.
and so the rules are different. And so
Oh
I
yeah.
had this grand plan of how obviously I'm going to change the footprint, do X, Y, and Z. And they're like, no, you're not. That's not going to happen. So I had a realtor actually reach out to me who said, hey, did you know this was a historical property? I'm like, nope, didn't know that. And I had to know what that meant. So I started making some calls and I'm like, okay, well, this flip is going to look very different now. So fortunately, I have a father-in-law who, he's a carpenter. He's probably been doing this for 25 years. I just called him and was like, I'm in a bit of a jam. Can we do some cosmetic updates to this property? And so we did that, got in and out of there pretty quick and fortunately made a profit. I remember it was about 14,000. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. And that was the first deal. And I'm like, shoot, I can at least have a little bit of confidence. So, that was kind of what got me into this. And I was focusing on my home market. And as I started to grow a little bit, and make a lot of mistakes, realized that, holy cow, I'm doing the lead gen, I'm doing the follow up, I'm going on the appointments. We had multiple crews going at once, people telling me they're going to be there tomorrow at 7. And then, 2 hours later at 9 o'clock, they're in Memphis and they're like, hey, man, I'm in Memphis. What? So I'm like, man, this is hard. I have a young family. My crew wanted to be on the job at like 5 in the morning. I'm like, dude, I can't do this. And so I was just trying to figure things out and just try to make a living, praying that, the flip would close and we'd get on to the next deal. I couldn't figure wholesaling out. I kept having some really good deals under contract that had title issues, couldn't get them closed. I was making every mistake in the book, man, every mistake. So anyways, long story short, we sort of just got to a point where, we started to figure it out. We started to go a little bit away from the flips and get the wholesaling piece, get a little bit better at that. And then we started to wholesale. I'm sorry, we started to flip vacant land and started to see some success with that. But I was like, man,
that's good in Nashville. The infill lots, you can make some really good money doing that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think the challenge for me was like I was kind of doing everything, and I'm like, man,
jack of all trades.
I want to own a business, and I didn't own a business. I was just like, I was enslaved by it, and I was like, for the amount of hours that I'm working, like when I'm out the door before my kids wake up, back home around the time that they're going to bed, and then I get a little bit of time, with my wife, and then she'd go to bed, and I'm like, all right, well, I gotta do lead gen, or I gotta do, fix the books and all the other stuff. It was like it just never ended. So finally I said, no more of this. I need to figure out how to get myself out of my business. And that's kind of when I chose a different market and pivoted.
Man, that's really smart because, obviously you're making money in Nashville. It was a little chaotic from what you're saying, but instead of like just trying to do it in Nashville, it's like a really good idea. Just kind of start fresh, new market, new team. Obviously, you had a lot of theories of constraints there because you were not going to be living in South Carolina, so you had to figure out how to do it virtually, by hiring other people, especially if you're rehabbing. Like, that's a really good idea for people listening. Like, if they're in their market right now and they're local and they feel like they got to run around all day and chase contractors and tenants and stuff. Like, if you want to start fresh, go virtual. Pick another market, because by default you're going to have to systematize stuff. And I've been virtually doing this forever now. Like, you can't go to the property. Like, I could in theory get on a plane and drive to wherever I'm going, but or fly there. But like, when you commit to going virtual and then you build the systems from day one, in 3 years, you'll be thanking yourself, because if you just have this thing here, and I'm showing my phone, if people aren't watching the YouTube video, you can run your whole business virtually, and it is a lot better. I can tell you that. You're there, I'm there, and a lot of people are doing it. It really becomes a lot better when you only need to be on the phone or the computer, because you really can be anywhere in the world and you can run your business.
Yep, exactly. And part of it for me, I mean, I selected Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which is kind of a weird, fragmented
Redneck Riviera.
Yep, smaller kind of market. People go down there to golf or to vacation or to whatever, go to biker week. And so my parents actually retired there. We were living on a golf course. And interestingly enough, now they live here in Nashville. But I've been going down since I was a kid. And so I was a little bit familiar with the area. And I'm like, man, this is an excuse to go see my parents, maybe do a little bit of investing. And so as I started to do my research, I'm like, man, this is a weird, like, I'm not seeing the level of sophistication in investors like I see in Nashville. People are doing all sorts of crazy things, tight knit. People are helping each other out, realtors, investors, like that didn't exist there. So I just thought to myself, you know what, shoot, I think I can do something here. I think there's a play. And so I actually got a call from a wholesaler. That's how I reached out. I reached out to a couple agents, a couple wholesalers. There weren't many there, so it was like hard to even find them. In fact, I reached out to Tom Kroll or Wholesaling Inc., and Tom was actually like, oh yeah, you got to call this guy. So I called that guy, and he calls me when I'm coming back from the mountains from Dollywood or somewhere in Gatlinburg, I guess. And he's like, hey man, I got a property. Can I FaceTime you? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I looked at it. I could barely see really what was happening in the property. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to take it. And I just committed at that point. I committed to buying it essentially sight unseen. And so he actually introduced me to a guy that could do the work for me, who today is now my partner. So at the time I didn't really know, but the guy came in and he's like, yeah, here's what I think it needs to be done. So we did a couple of deals together. the guy Adam, who's now my partner. And I'm like, man, this guy really knows his numbers, has a construction background, commercial, residential, 25 years of construction. And, he's just like not afraid of confrontation. I could tell he's a good negotiator. And so I just said, hey, man, how would you like to go and, stop swinging the hammer and go, make offers and do something a little bit different. He's like, man, I'm ready for a change. So it took a minute for that to happen, but that started, really from 2020 to now. We've just pushed forward, working together. And we said, hey, it was just him and I at the time, like, we're going to go make this work. And so I transitioned from a a 7-figure business. Sorry. We were over $1 million in assignment fees and revenue in Nashville.
Nashville.
Okay. And I'm like, and like the very first appointment I sent him on, I said, just go, tell me what you think. Let me know what you think the offer should be. Well, I knew that I was willing to go up to 53,000, but I didn't tell him that. So he steps out at that first appointment. He says, hey, Jeremy, here's what's going on. All this work needs to be done. I want to make her an offer of 50,000. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy, I'm like, he's a beast. He knows. And so he actually said, okay, great. Well, here's the deal. I'm going to give her an offer of 50 and, we'll kind of set it up. And so I called back later and said, hey, I can get you a little bit more. So we gave her a higher amount. We got that first deal. And I'm like, man, I am going to figure out a way to make Myrtle Beach work, because like I saw in him massive potential. And so over the course of, that year, 2020, we transitioned our business from Nashville, me doing everything, right? I was flipping in Chattanooga. I was flipping in Nashville. I was buying houses and apartments in Clarksville. I was buying land all over the place. And I was like, I had no life, and it was good. We were making money, but I'm like, this is just not sustainable. Yeah. So anyways, that's when we made that transition. And, I still have a little bit going on in Nashville, but quite honestly, about 95% of my marketing and my efforts and my team and all that, like we've transitioned completely, and this is where our business is.
So you're down in Myrtle Beach. That's very interesting, because like you're having success in Nashville. It's just chaos from what you're saying. And like you're able to start fresh and copy and paste and obviously improve your systems in Myrtle Beach being virtual, which is ultimately better in my opinion. And now you're rocking and rolling down there. And from what it seems like, maybe we'll blur this out to anyone streaming in Myrtle Beach, but it seems like that market is relatively untapped compared to Nashville, Dallas, Phoenix, San Diego, Houston. Like it's not like a tier 1 city where you have 700 wholesalers. Yeah, you might have 20, right? And there's still obviously there's opportunity everywhere. But we were talking offline before we hit the record button, and like, if you're in an area where there's generally less wholesalers, it's going to be a little bit easier to compete, right? Because you're going to have less, marketing is going to work better and your offers are going to convert better, and, it's just a little bit better, right? So let's get into some of your systems now, like on the marketing side, in Myrtle Beach. Obviously, that's where you're doing most of your business. So we were emailing last night a little bit, and you shared with me this marketing channel. I really don't even know what it is, to be honest with you, but it seemed really interesting. I have a feeling from what I saw, it's like some sort of like streaming marketing. So I'll just kind of let you take over and kind of share what it is, because and I'm going to grill you with some questions if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So let me take a step back and kind of show where we came from, because when we went to Myrtle Beach, like, again, I didn't really know, like, I'd done PPC and SEO in Nashville, and what I found is a much smaller market, much less search. So PPC and SEO, they didn't work the same in Myrtle Beach.
Not a lot of traffic. Yeah, I've realized that in other markets too. It's the search volumes isn't there.
Yeah. So what's funny is some of the things that worked really well in Nashville, they didn't work in that market, or they worked. It just, like, my expectations had to be adjusted, right?
Yes.
So like in Nashville, there was a lot more direct mail. Everyone was doing direct mail. In Myrtle Beach, yeah, there was direct mail, but there was less competition there. So we had a much better response rate with direct mail. We also were doing, we tried cold calling, and we had a lot of success cold calling with VAs from the Philippines in Nashville. In Myrtle Beach, down south, and again, it's kind of a lateral move, but there's more folks that are, I think, at least in the area that we were in, people were like, yeah, you're not an American company, or we had some of that, right? They could tell, even though they spoke good English, there was something that was off a little bit. And so people were like, hey, we don't want you Northerners or people from out of this country calling us. So we got a lot of pushback. And I was like, you know what? We got to figure out what works for us. we had a little bit of success with PPC, a little bit of success with SEO, and then we started to really hone in on our direct mail. So that was huge. And so what I told my partner starting out is I said, hey man, my goal is to make you a celebrity. I want you to be the local real estate guy that everybody knows. And so he probably thought, oh yeah, whatever, because he didn't really know me that well. We just kind of, went and said, yeah, let's do this. And, we started to build trust as we went. And so I think over time, once we got to a point where we got a couple of deals in each of these channels, my whole mentality was, if I'm going to switch from Nashville to Myrtle Beach, I actually have to invest in other channels, because like I have to figure out what works. And so like I'm going to use that runway to invest in the next thing to generate more leads. And so I was actually taking phone calls. I'm like, I have to do this. I need to make sure that I'm setting him up for success. We were talking every single day. And so we just went one by one. One marketing channel starts to work, maybe in, typically it would be anywhere from like 3 to, well, I should say 30 days to 3 months, we were starting a new channel.
Yeah.
If we got a deal or 2 deals, boom, let's invest in something else. So the next step for us was, at the time, Facebook ads. I'm like, man, 2020, Facebook was pretty hot back then.
Yeah.
And I remember one of our
before the change happened? Is that before they did the fucking housing thing?
Yeah, I think so. In fact, I know so. And I felt like we just got a lot more leads back then, but we still use Facebook ads today. But it's different. But one of our earliest deals was a 6-figure assignment, and I'm like, oh
in
man,
Myrtle Beach?
Yes.
Oh my God, I didn't even know that existed down there. Wow.
Yeah. So, and it was literally like the house was like 4 houses from the beach. I wish we would have kept it, but it wasn't happening.
My God, that's insane.
Anyways, so at that point, I'm like, all right, well, what's next? And so, I had experience with Cody Hoffine over at Wholesaling Inc. So he had a 2-day mastermind out in Utah, had a lot of success from that. And so I'm like, all right, we're investing in systems, we're investing in coaching. And then I'm like, well, we want to keep reaching the masses. So Facebook was good because we did some retargeting. People saw our ads. We started to build a brand. And then what happened was, I'm like, you know what? I heard the radio program. Chris, I can't think of his name.
Chris Arnold,
but
buddy of mine.
Chris Arnold, yes. So I don't know what happened. I don't know all the ins and outs, but I don't hear or see Chris around. Maybe it's all the changes with Wholesaling Inc. But radio was a game changer for us, because all of a sudden, like we created a really sweet ad. We still use it today. We've been using it for like 3 years, haven't changed it. And people just started knowing my partner just by his voice. They're like, you're that guy, you're that real estate guy. And so that really generated a lot of brand awareness, buzz, and quite honestly, a lot of leads for us at that time. So we did that, had a lot of success. Probably, I think we had 7 radio stations when we first started. We have 5 today. So 5 of those 7, the iHeart guys were like, no one's ever got a price this low. We can't give you this price anymore. So those 2 went away, and I still have the same 5 that we had before. But then I'm like, okay, well, shoot. All of a sudden I hear Tony Javier, his TV program.
Very good friend of mine too.
Yeah. And so Chris Arnold was promoting Tony.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, shoot, everything's working for me. The next step in all of this is to go TV. So I invest in his program. Like I was an early adopter. I'm like, yep, we're doing it.
I remember when he launched that. He told me he was launching a TV program, because him and I would do these accountability calls, because he lives in San Diego. And he was like, I think I'm launching this TV program. And I was like, oh, it sounds interesting. And it blew up in a good way. Yeah.
And I loved it. And so I have the same, I filmed 2 ads. So his guy's like, hey, let's do 1. I'm like, hey, let's just do 2. Can we do that? And so their media buyer did that. And they have a great system. I love it. I still use it today. It's fantastic. And we haven't changed our ads. We still have the same 2 ads. We just sometimes recycle them or rotate. And so that worked really good for us. So I thought, like, man, I'm done. Like, we've got all the channels. We've built up the brand. And then I get a call from a buddy of mine. And this is to your question, finally getting to what CTV or connected TV is. He calls me up and he says, hey, man, I'm working on a project. You might be interested in it. I'm like, all right, tell me more. So he starts to tell me a little bit about connected TV, what it is. And he said, like, this is the future. And he's like, it's here now, but most people don't really understand it. And they don't understand the power of it. I'm like, okay, tell me more. So once he explained it, I started to see all the potential of the targeting that you used to see in Facebook, right? You used to be able to retarget, and they
Yeah,
made some
crazy.
changes. And so it was hyper focused. And so TV is more shotgun, right? Someone's watching Judge Judy. Maybe there's 10,000 people or 10. You don't really know. You can't really target those people. They just happen to be watching or not watching. And then, but with connected TV, it's really unique because number one, nobody knows about it. Nobody's doing it. And the people that are doing it that I'm aware of, they're still trying to figure out how it works. And so when I had a conversation with the guy who's now my partner in this and his other partner as well. So we've got a media guy, we've got a video guy, production guy, and then myself, who I'm working with investors. I kind of pitched them on the idea of, hey, we can build this out for investors, and I think this would crush. I mean, I really do. I think we could be really successful. So I said, can we go ahead and build out the platform, and I'll be the guinea pig. I'll pay for it and see how it works in my market. And I didn't know where it would kind of land or how well it would work. And we had no data to go off of. But I knew that at the very least, it's going to bring brand awareness, right? And I can
Yeah.
reach my target customer, quickly. So here's how all this worked out. So we kicked this thing off, and we basically had a lookalike campaign, right, where we had certain demographics, like, hey, if they fall within this bucket, serve them an ad, right? So we wanted it to be somewhat targeted, zip codes, they own a house, all
Yeah.
that stuff, exactly. So that was the easy one. We didn't know how that would perform, but we're like, let's just start here. And then we had a second campaign, which was a retargeting campaign, and that was our list. That was the secret sauce. Because now, right, you got people that are doing driving for dollars, they're cold calling, texting, direct mail, whatever it is they're doing.
You mean the retargeting campaign was your direct response list that you mail and cold call, correct?
Yeah. So all I needed to do, I already had all those lists.
Yeah.
So now I literally just give them to our account manager, and he uploads the lists. And oh yeah, by the way, the system says John Smith. Oh yeah, John Smith lives at this address. He has a streaming device. Serve him an ad.
Oh, like a smart TV kind of.
Bro.
Interesting.
Literally to the house level. So think about this for a second, okay? I'm going to throw out some crazy possibilities, and then you can ask me whatever questions you want. But think about it. Imagine you're in a probate situation. You have a list. You maybe know who all the heirs are if you get that information, or you know who the PR is or whatever. And they happen to you happen to upload their names, or for that particular list, you upload. Now you might have 3 or 4 different people who are somehow invested in that property. You're reaching all of them if they have a connected device, a smart TV or an iPad or a phone. It hits all of them, right? So it's not just TV, it's actually all of them. And we have campaigns for each of those. But now all of a sudden, like, you have someone in Ohio, you have someone in Pennsylvania, and then you have a family member in Myrtle Beach. You can hit all of them potentially.
Interesting. That is very interesting.
So here's another thing. This is where I get excited, because I'm looking to buy portfolios. Like, I would rather buy 10 houses from one guy than 10 houses from 10 individual sellers. It's just so much easier, right?
Oh,
So what I do is I pull my list, whether you use PropStream or some other data source, it makes no difference. I love the filters in some of these lists in PropStream. So I'm like, all right, it's cheap. I already have it. My team uses it. Okay, great. Pull that list, whatever the list is. But I love multiple properties. So I can go and see anyone that's got 10 plus properties or 4 plus properties or whatever.
And then PropStream.
And then go and send the list to my guys. Now they upload that list. All right, John Smith again, found him. Now we're serving him an ad. And here's the beautiful thing about that ad. Okay, so and I'm gonna tell you a ton of different points and how this is so powerful. And I don't think people understand this. So when someone's watching regular TV, they may have it as background noise, right? Or they may actually be watching it because they want to watch. You don't know. Maybe they're watching a football game. Maybe they're cooking or whatever. With CTV, people are watching that because, like, this is a show they want to watch, right?
Yeah,
so
their choice to watch it.
Exactly. They're choosing to watch it, right? Because so what happens is you actually have people that they can't skip ahead on your commercial. They have to watch your commercial, essentially. So we have a 92 to 97% completion rate. So I know if I'm doing 150,000 impressions per month, that's what we spent. That's what we have allocated. So that means 150,000 times my 30-second spot will be seen. But here's the beauty of this. It's not going to everybody, right? My lists and my campaigns are going to be allocated only to either my retargeting list or my lookalike audience. And so now this is sniper, baby. You're like picking people off, right?
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, so this is crazy. And so kind of what's happening is we're going after, let's say, probate or inheritance or multiple properties. So we're specifically trying to have those motivated, or who we hope are motivated sellers, see our commercials. So they won't just see it one time and it's over. Like we're seeing that they're seeing the ads 5, 6, 10 times. Well, guess what? I don't want that guy that's not the right person to see my ad. I want the guy that, you know, we've run all the filters, we've got the niche lists. Like we want them to see our ad 4 and 5 and 10 times, because when they're ready to sell, like they're going to think of Myrtle Beach home buyers
because they've seen the ad 10 times on their phone.
Exactly.
So are you serving these ads on like YouTube ad? Like where are they? Are they like watching this? Like explain where they're seeing the ad. Is it a YouTube? Is it a Google display? Like how does that, where are they seeing the media? Like what are they watching?
So they can see that on Fox. They can see it on Hulu. They can see it on National Geographic, all different. So we partnered with a company and they built the platform. Like they already had a platform. So they actually manage, I think they manage Peacock's, which is NBC. They're streaming. It's called TV Scientific. So my partners are partners in TV Scientific. They're investors in it. And so TV Scientific said, okay, we'll help to create this. And so they have access to the different networks. And so based on our criteria, or if you want to be on a specific network, let's say you're like, oh man, I want to be World Cup. Like I want to be, I want to advertise to that audience. You could actually do that. And then within that particular audience, you can target people that match your demographic. There's all sorts of things you can do. It's crazy.
Dude, this is like TV marketing on steroids, hyper targeted. Because I was just at dinner with my friend last night, or a few of my friends, and we were just masterminding, eating some steaks. And he's in Pennsylvania. Well, he's a New York guy like me, but he does marketing in Pennsylvania. And he's like, listen, like we're making a phenomenal ROI on TV, but it's a shotgun approach. Like we're getting leads in the middle of nowhere. We're wholesaling them for 5-10 grand because that's all we can do, and it's paying the bills because it's so broad. But with what you're sharing here on this CTV, you can be like a ninja, and you can take a list that is valuable and serve those prospects a targeted ad. Man, that is, nobody's doing this.
So no one is doing this. No one is doing it. I know for a fact that no one's doing it. The ones that are doing it, they're kind of keeping it a secret. Nobody's talking about it. Let's say that. And if they're doing it, the platforms, there's a couple platforms out there that, you can use for this, but you know how like certain technologies, once they become mainstream, like all of a sudden there's other opportunities where anyone can go and do it. Yeah. I think this is one of those things where people haven't really figured that part out yet. And so for 8 months, I went and did that. I was working with my guys and we were focusing on the platform and how we can build this. And then we tested it for the last 12. So I've been involved in this for about 20 months, and we're just now, really willing to share, our data, because now I have something that, it's my data, but then we also had some select other people that we brought in totally organic, just to see what the results look like, where were our pain points, where were things working well, where were things not working well. So we've learned a ton. But here's the crazy thing is I didn't change nothing. I changed no marketing for 1 whole year. So I went from April 1 to April 1 of this year. So I have 12 months of data. And some of the crazy things that we've gotten from this, I've got it's actually 26% call volume, increase in call volume. I've got a 3x traffic to my website, unique visitors every month. So in March of 2022, I had 486 people come to my website, and we've been able to grow that on average up to 1,500 and without changing anything else, like nothing, no other changes. So what's happening is we realized, holy cow, TV drives search. connected TV drives search also when they're ready. So where TV, someone might see the ad and be like, oh shit, I got to call them right now. This is a totally different play. Someone who, so this is not for that investor who's like dependent on like the deal today. Like you're not going to go and get connected TV. It just doesn't work the way that some people want it to work. And the way I thought and wanted it to work, it doesn't work that same way. How it's different is, yes, it's highly targeted, and yes, you'll get people that will call you and they'll go to your website and they'll fill out forms and do all the same things. But where it really is impactful is it amplifies every other marketing channel you have. So for example, let's say someone comes to your website, SEO. Well, now they come to your site. Well, guess what we do? We have a pixel on our site or our landing page or anywhere that you're sending traffic. And so now someone comes to our site through SEO. Well, now they're going to see a 30-second ad. We're going to immediately go and find them, retarget them. Now, imagine if you have some people use direct mail to their, they send people to their website or to a landing page. You do the same thing. Now, all of a sudden, your direct mail is amplified because people who are interested in knowing more about your company go to your website. Boom! Now, all of a sudden, we're going to follow them everywhere if they go online, if they're watching TV or watching on their smartphone. So, can you see the power of this? All of a sudden, it creates this explosion in your brand. You look like you're everywhere, right? Oh, I mean, I got a postcard from them. I just went to their website. Now I'm seeing them on TV.
Now I see their ads everywhere. Yeah. And then when they're ready to sell, they're like pre-sold almost. They're like, oh shit, I got to call these guys.
Exactly. So what's happening is, I'm not going to say that all these people are coming directly from CTV. What happens is all the marketing's working together. It's omnipresent marketing. And so this can help your direct mail if you're sending traffic to your site. This can help your SEO. This can send your help your pay-per-click. But here's what else is crazy. So think about it for a second. Look at like I look at some of these wholesalers that, like, my focus is Myrtle Beach and I do a little bit of Nashville. But there's some guys who are like, yeah, I'm in Phoenix. I focus on Phoenix, but I also focus on Houston. I focus on Tampa. And they're just like picking markets that, you know, there's a lot of people in and they can do a lot of volume. And so they're doing everything virtually, right? So think about it for a sec. If you're buying TV spots in Tampa and Houston and Arizona, like those are different campaigns. But think about it for a second. You could literally serve your exact same ad to people in all those different markets. You don't have to go and have a campaign or do a media buy in one market and another market and another market.
It's all one.
You could literally
one roof.
It's all one. It's all one. There's no additional cost. You're just going to allocate how much you want to each market if you want to do it that way. And so literally you just submit your list. So if you've got a list in Arizona, you got a list in Houston, you got a list in Tampa. Now all of a sudden, you know, you just tell us where you want your ads to be seen, and boom. So think about it. For those big wholesalers that are doing pay-per-click nationwide, or in 3 markets, 4 markets, and then they're also doing direct mail in those markets. Well, guess what? The third leg of the stool is connected TV, because in my opinion, there's nothing else. Like, yeah, you can do Facebook, you can do SEO, you can do all that stuff. But these guys, at least as far as I'm concerned, if, you know, and I don't know their model perfect, but I'm looking at it and they're saying, hey, TV would be great. You know, pay-per-click is great. Well, that's great, but I'm going to say take it one step further and go really, really targeted to people in that particular market that no one else is currently hitting.
Dude, this is mind-blowing, honestly, because like you're getting all the benefits of like a inbound TV quality lead, but you're able to merge that with being hyper targeted, and you can be really selective, because that's the one drawback from TV. It's just very broad, right? You're playing on channel 2, you're playing on, you know, the local news network or whatever. But this one, you can kind of have your cake and eat it too. And on top, I mean, like the whole theme of the show is like really like go where other people aren't. Like you're in a market that's not a Houston, Texas kind of caliber market. You're doing marketing that's not your typical cold calling to the freaking absentee owner list in Nashville, which everyone's doing. So you're able to separate yourself and grow your business by being unique with where you are and how you're doing your marketing. And, you know, I feel like, you know, this is just going to keep getting more popular and popular. Obviously, the show is going to come out and people are going to hear it and whatnot. But like, this is a great opportunity for people if they really want to optimize their overall marketing ecosystem. So let's talk more logistics on this. What is that? I'm assuming this is not for somebody who's not doing real business. Like if you're not making a minimum of like 800 grand in revenue, this is probably not something for them. Like who is this for and who is this not for?
Yeah. So it's for the investor who's doing 5 deals and they want to get to 8 to 10 deals
a month.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So
it's for the
if you're doing 5 deals, more than likely you're probably hitting like 3 or 4 different marketing channels,
Yep.
right? And so, I would say you have to already have an existing brand. Don't, like, if you're just doing texting and cold calling and you really don't have any presence, that's fine. You can get here, but let's start getting your brand known first. You can do radio, you can do TV, you can do PPC. There's a few things that I would recommend. I don't want people that are like, yeah, we've never done any mass media at all. Could we make it work? Yeah, probably. But like, I'd rather have you start to build your brand in other ways first. Like, quite honestly, what I would say is, if you're doing direct mail and pay per click and you're really rock solid there, the next one could potentially be connected TV. But if you're not doing those two, or if you're just doing things that there's no drive to your website, people don't know who you are, and you're just starting, and you're like, oh, I'm going to see tons and tons of lead from that. That's not the benefit of this. The benefit of this is you have some level of brand recognition. You already have a sustainable business. You want to scale up, but you want to dominate your market. You want to saturate your market. This is to take you from, I have a decent brand, to I want to dominate.
Yeah,
That's
so
who
you're
this is
like the
for.
known brand in town. Like, this is the guy to sell your house to in Myrtle Beach, in Dallas, in
Yep.
Houston, Phoenix.
Yep.
Interesting. So obviously you've been implementing this. You've been seeing phenomenal results. Now,
Yep.
what is like a reasonable budget to spend on something like this? Like,
So
how does the budget work? Is it like a CPM thing, or how does that work with budgeting?
Yeah, so it's going to be about 150,000 impressions. So an impression would be a 30-second spot. And, we do that for $5,000. That's where it's at today. That works for us. And it works. I mean, that to me is super reasonable. Now, if you're in a huge market and, you want to spend more, you can certainly do that. Or if you're like, hey, I'm going to do 5,000 in Dallas, but we're also in Tampa, so we want it to hit there. I mean, dude, we can adjust the number of impressions based on your budget. But what I would say is, don't say, oh, well, let's just test it out, we'll do 2,500. The beauty of this is similar to regular TV. You're talking about frequency and reach, right? You want more people to see it, and you want them to see it more often. And the reason why I love connected TV is because you now can control who sees it, for the most part.
That's a
Right?
big value add in this.
And so if you want to hit a certain list, or you've got a list of 100,000 highly targeted people that are on your lien list, your bankruptcy list, water shutoff, like, boom, you're gonna upload that list, find them, and then all of a sudden, instead of just some random guy that doesn't fit within your criteria, now he's in a rural area that sees your ad and wants to sell his house. You're like, oh, I'm not really dealing with that area. You control who and where
Who
they're going to
sees
see
the
your
ad and
ad.
where they are?
And
That's just like,
so the goal is, hey, I want them to see it 5, 6, 10 times. And so that's the beauty of this. You're still getting that frequency, but it's frequency from the right people, the people that you want to hit.
That's why people love direct mail so much, is because you control who you mail. And if you mail list A in zip code A, you're going to get people calling in most likely from zip code A. With radio and regular TV, you're going to be targeting a county or a geographical MSA, right? So you could be getting leads out in the sticks that you don't want to deal with. But with CTV, you can obviously get the best of both worlds. So as we start to wind the show down, man, we covered a lot of ground today, hearing your story and I feel like that was 2 years ago talking about your story. Now we've been deep diving on this TV stuff, the CTV stuff. Let's try to put a bow on all this, right? So obviously we told everyone why it's important, how it's valuable, how it can help your business. If people wanted to, number one, get in touch with you and connect with you just as a regular investor, how can they do that? And then how can they find out more about CTV if they feel like it might be a fit for them to implement in their business?
Yeah, for sure. So if they want to, schedule a call or just talk directly with me, you can reach out on Facebook. Shoot, you can call me. Call my cell phone. I take calls. 615-670-8153. Call me direct. Text me.
What's your phone number? The Zoom just froze while you put your phone number out. What is your number again?
615
Okay.
670-8153. You can text me, call me. It doesn't matter. But the bottom line is, if you want to talk, even if you're just like, hey, I'm not even sure if this is for me, or you want to just talk real estate or lead gen or whatever, I don't care. I love this stuff, man. So I'm game anytime. That would be the easiest way. You can go to Investor CTV. That's the website, investorctv.com. You can find out more information. You can schedule a call. I'm on those sales calls. So, one of the things is I'm a product of the product. I believe so much in this that I want to share what my experience has been, what some of the struggles have been, where we've grown, what we've learned. And man, we've learned a ton. We're still learning, we're still implementing, we're still tweaking and testing. Our first month, and I'm not making any promises, but our first month for us, this is how I knew this was a game changer. We did two assignment deals, $76,000. One was a 61K and the other was a 15K deal. And I'm like, yep, I just paid for my budget for the year. Let's keep going. Let's roll with this.
Put that right back in the hopper. That's amazing.
And then my favorite story, man, is that we get a call from a lady. It looks like an SEO lead. That's how it came through our website anyways. It was SEO. My partner, Adam, the one who is on the commercials, he shows up at the lady's house and she's like, "Oh my gosh, it's you." And he's like, what did I do?
Hi.
She's like, "Well, my alarm went off this morning and I heard your ad on the radio."
Oh my God.
And then she's like, and then I went and got my cup of coffee and I turned the TV on and I saw your ad on TV. And then she's like, and now you're here. And so this is the part that it's hard to measure, right? Because everyone wants to attribute a deal to a specific channel. Well, you tell me, is that an SEO lead? Is that a radio lead? Is that a TV lead? Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. They all work together. And so in our business, in 2022, in 2021, we did 48 deals. In 2023, in 2021, I'm getting my numbers messed up here. We did 48 deals. Last year, we did 86 deals. And this year, I don't know where we're going to end up, but the way things are going, my goal is to get to about 110. So, we'll see where we land. But like I said, man, nothing changed. I literally kept all of my marketing constant for 12 months. It's only right now in the last 2 weeks that I've started to make some tweaks because I wanted to have real data to show people. And this has been a huge game changer for us because my partner goes places, he goes to restaurants, he just shows up and people are like, "Oh man, it's you. You're the real estate guy."
He's got the local celebrity approach, dude.
He's got the local celebrity. Yep. So
there's so much. I was reading a book, Dan Bilzerian's biography. I was reading. I don't know if you know who that guy is. He's like this huge influencer, and he talked about the power of fame and celebrity and how it gives you a lot of leverage, right? Whether you're buying houses or whether you're a big baller on Instagram, when you have that associated credibility and fame with you, it brings a lot of subconscious influence that gets people to really prejudge you in a good way. Oh, this guy's on TV. He's the guy on the radio ad, and you see locally, oh, the plumber with the white gloves on, with the fancy music. Oh my God, I saw that guy at the Mets game. You know what I mean? He's the guy, he's fixing my boiler, There's a lot of value in that. And Jeremy, I really, really appreciate you coming on the show as a guest, talking about your journey, your business, and now this marketing channel that's crushing it. So we'll make sure we have those links and your phone number in the show notes. I really do appreciate your time. I'm really, it's freaking awesome to see what you're doing down there in Myrtle Beach. And this was a great show, and I know a lot of people are going to get value from it. So thank you so much for being a guest on our show today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.